fine. I like it. The other game was the Team Shaq, Team Candace matchup. Of course, the OGs and the Rising Stars. This one was easy for the OGs, 42-35. Although there was a game here for a little while, and it got a little scary because it seemed like the OGs were messing around. No LeBron here. Dame with 9, Curry with 8, 6 rebounds. Jaylen Brown finished with 8. Lou, they were sort of talking it while they were announcing it too. They were kind of messing around as if the OGs wanted the most perfect, dramatic final shot to end this game. And in the meantime, the young guys were starting to catch up. Do you think they started to feel the pressure?
They were never under pressure.
Come on, yes, they were.
No, they were not. You saw it when the game was at 28-28. They go on a 6-0 run in 10 seconds. Like, they were never under pressure, to the fact of, like you just said, they had a game winner. They had 39 points. And they took 6 to 7 shots that they wanted to take. Nobody made them take a shot. They took the shots that they wanted to take. At any time, any 5 of those guys that were on the floor could have easily went and laid or dunked the basketball at will. So these guys were never under pressure. As much as everybody were kind of rooting for the Rising Stars to make this interesting or kind of knock them off, because that was the only way this was going to turn into an exciting part of the evening, that was it. And they never were under distress, never were. Every time the young guys made a shot, they went up 1 point or 2 points or 3 points. The OGs, they just went on a 6-0 run or 8-0 run, and they just kept it close enough to at least that the fans that were there were entertained at some point of the evening, but they were never under distress or pressure. Be clear, never.
I felt like it was close for a while, and then Curry wanted that. I think they wanted a dramatic
between close and pressure. It's a big difference between close and pressure. Was it close? Sure. But when it got close to the time where it was really an opportunity for them to go ahead and take off, that's what they did. They went and got a 6-point lead, going to 40 points, and they were never under distress.
Okay, so fine. Then let's concentrate on the close part, Draymond, because for almost the entire pregame, there was like 2 hours of it. Draymond Green was very adamant that this is ridiculous, that the Rising Stars have no place in All-Star Weekend. Quote, they don't deserve the privilege of playing on Sunday.
1,000%.
How'd you feel about those comments? Chandler, why?
Well, I think he's right. I hated his delivery. I hated his negative approach the whole weekend. I thought it was out of line. I thought it was a little disrespectful to the kind of the Rising Stars future of the league. But he's right. You go to All-Star Weekend to see the mega stars. You go to All-Star Weekend to see the guys whose kids' jerseys you're wearing. And no disrespect and no offense to these young dudes in their first couple of years, you don't want to see them play during All-Star. You want to see the Lucas. You want to see who's not even there. You want to see the LeBron who didn't play. You want to see these main guys, the Steph Currys, not the Rising Stars. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for these guys to get there. It reminds me a lot of like the select team playing against the Olympic team. Like, is there pressure for the Olympians to win? No, but Dame even said afterwards, look, we don't want to be the team to lose to those young cats. Like there's definitely, and I understand the thought process of maybe this brings it out of these vets. Maybe this brings it out that they don't want to have the embarrassment element, but at the end of the day, Draymond, he is right. Like I said, this isn't. I didn't want to watch this. I don't want to watch those guys during the regular season, let alone All-Star Weekend. So I understand where he's coming from, but I also do, like, if I was a Rising Star, I think it's so dope that I get to play against these legends and these OGs, and like I think it would be so special, and I would take advantage of that. And I would play hard. You see the kid Dunn from Phoenix was playing so hard, he fouled the hell out of KD at the end of the game. Like. The process behind of why they did it makes sense, and Draymond's feelings about they don't deserve to be there, and you work your whole life to be an all-star. Why do these kids get to play? You know what I mean? That also makes sense. I just didn't really like the delivery of it.
Well,
we can agree here. Yeah, I was about to say we can agree there. Didn't love the delivery, especially coming from an OG like Draymond, and these young guys. They look up to guys like Draymond and the rest of the All-Stars. So sometimes their words can cut those young guys, especially when you're working just as hard to feel like you're getting somewhere in your career. But I also agree with the sentiment of they didn't deserve to be there on a Sunday. Like, think about it. Some of these young guys won't legitimately make an all-star team. Like, some of them won't. So to have them be a part of your main event on Sunday night for them to be out there with the KDs and the Steph Currys of the world. It's guys that were on the bubble that didn't get that opportunity, that surpassed rising stars. You know, you think LaMelo Ball didn't want to be out there? Was he not more deserving of some of these guys? Like that's where that's where it kind of got a gray area for me with involving the rising stars. But Charles Barkley made a great point as well. Their generation have to take some responsibility in these guys even being involved in the first place. And so later on in the show, I have an idea of how we can kind of clean that part up. But I agree with Draymond 1,000% that it felt kind of funny once they were introducing these guys to be a part of this event, and to have them moving forward to be a part of it. I think that part is a little weird because there's so many guys that are in that gray area, in that in-between, in that bubble space that are more deserving to be a part of that event before some of your rising stars.
And I'd rather them even just take off the game minimum to be, you know, to qualify to play. Like, think about it. There's guys like John Morant and Luka that didn't reach the threshold of games to even get into the game. I'd rather watch them play still than the rising stars. Like, I'd rather watch Sabonis and LaMelo Ball than these other guys that, you know, that are considered the all-star snubs. Like Devin Booker didn't play this weekend and All-Star weekend, but like Zach Edey
he
did.
Could have
like,
if LeBron would have not waited till the last second. We'll get to that. But LeBron also didn't help anybody out. And secondly, here's what I think people want. Because as a fan, just sitting on my couch listening to Draymond, yes, the delivery is always very negative, and that's sort of part of his brand. But the lack of self-awareness on why these changes were adamant and needed to be made, or at least try to embarrass some of these veterans into playing harder so that they don't get beaten on national television by a bunch of kids, is only happening because of them not giving two damns. That's why we're here in the first place. So there's no self-awareness on why these changes were happening. Did it work? I don't know. Probably not. But we wouldn't have to make these changes because apparently just asking everybody to try harder every single year isn't getting the job done. So, like, I don't mind if Draymond wants to say it sucks, but you got to say why we're here.
Yeah, then the only reason we're here, Michelle, is because the game sucks. The weekend sucks. So they are trying anything and everything to spice it up. So again, this isn't the rising stars' fault. This is an awesome opportunity for them. They're just happy to be there. They know that. They know they're not all stars. They know they're just filling a hole here that's trying to make it more interesting. So again, like you guys mentioned, like Charles Barkley said it best, like these dudes are the one that kind of drove this weekend into the ground by not playing hard and not even competing the slightest. So we have to make changes like this.
Yeah, but I think everybody shares the responsibility, that from the players to the league. You know, the league made it too much of a entertainment ball. We forgot about the basketball part. We forgot that All-Star Weekend, what makes it special is it's supposed to be the biggest and the best pickup game that you've ever seen in the world. But we turned it into an event where the entertainers are more important than the basketball aspect of it. So everybody should share some responsibility in where All-Star Weekend has gone. The great part about it is people are complaining. There's a lot of engagement. There's a lot of people talking about it. So they still care. The fans still care. The entertainers that are there, they still care. The players still care. Everybody still wants to be involved. Now we got to figure out a way to push this thing forward where it's innovative, where it makes sense, opposed to just being innovative to be loud and gaudy and not have a lot of substance. Last night didn't have a lot of substance, but if you add the substance, I think you get a pretty good product if you can get back to the center of it all. Let's make this thing somewhat competitive. Let's not make everything about money no more. Like, the money isn't going to get some of these guys out of bed. That's out. They're making $1 trillion at this point. Let's make it about pride again. Let's make it about the fans. Let's make it about the fan experience. And if we can center our attention on those things, on those values, I think we can get a better All-Star Weekend moving forward.
Okay, so there's a tweet there's a few tweets that went viral last night, but this one was an idea. Rather than having the rising stars, it was to swap them out with the 8 dudes that were next up in the voting, which would be the All-Snub team, the LaMelos of the world, if you will. They don't get the All-Star accolade, but if they win that first round matchup, then they get it added to the resume, and the team they beat loses it. Now we're talking. By the way, before you go, that's crazy. Damian Lillard actually co-signed it. Said, "I'm here for all the chaos." Now, it's funny in games to say that. Okay, Lou, because I was going to ask you, saying you're for it is one thing, but if it actually were to happen, do you think players would be down with it? Because taking away your all-star resume moment?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it the all-star snub team. I still would recognize these guys. Call it a bubble team or whatever. I like some chaos. And that way you'll get the competitive nature out of it because now guys have a chip on their shoulder. You get some chaos, you get some controversy, you get something to talk about. And if you really want to spice it up and add some of these young guys, you want some of the rising stars to be involved, add the rising stars MVP to that roster. Add the young guy that's going to be the MVP.
Steph.
Add him to that roster. That way, now you have your 24 young guys in the Rising Stars game. Now they're playing hard as well. So now you're doubling down on having a great Sunday night. Now you're doubling down on having a great Friday night if you want these young guys to be involved in what is going on. So I feel like there's a lot of different innovative ways that you can make this thing happen. And a lot of people are throwing ideas around. So I like this one, create a team where you got some of these guys that were right there, the LaMelo Balls. I even go as far as a Jamal Murray, somebody that hasn't had an opportunity to compete in All-Star Weekend. Before Trae Young was added as an injury reserve. These guys really want to be there and they deserve to be there, and they have fan bases and they have national and international recognition where fans would appreciate it opposed to these young guys. So I'm down for it.
And you know what? You're creating a team. You're creating a team where they have something to prove. They're pissed off. They think they should have been in the first place. So again, this gives them that extra motivation to compete. They're not a rising star. They like LaMelo Ball thinks he's an equal to Damian Lillard, like Sabonis and Fox and these guys that got snubbed. They don't think they're less basketball players. They just think they got snubbed. So put Devin Booker in this game going up against these all-stars. Yeah, now I think we got some juices flowing. Now I think we got something to prove. I think, and we can kind of create this All-Star Weekend is the big stage for this to happen. And Rising Stars is a cool opportunity. I played in the Rising Stars game. That's a Friday night. That's a Friday night situation. That's not the headliner. So I agree with that. Like those guys shouldn't be on Sunday night. That is the main event. That is the prime time. Don't put them on that. But now you're creating this team where these guys are pissed off. They're the snubs. Again, I don't like calling them the snubs because they're.
How about the almosts or should have beens?
I'm sure somebody in the office will create a better term for it, but you don't want to be on the snub team, but I'm sure they'll create something where you feel involved, like you feel like you're a part of it.
If part of it's poking the hornet's nest, calling them snubs might make it even better because now they really are irritated.
And again, this weekend is about fans, right? And those guys that got snubbed, they have more fans than the Rising Star. So that already creates more buzz, more attention, more tickets being sold because more people want to watch Devin Booker in an All-Star game than a Rising Star. Their time is going to come. That's why they're called a Rising Star. They're not a current star. I like this idea.
I do too. I think that was one of the best ideas I've seen. We're going to take a quick break. Well, go ahead.
I'll say it on the other side.
Okay, good. Keep it. We're going to come back on the other side. There's a lot more to get to on Run It Back.
Run it back, run it up.